Hello, everybody. This is Robin Leslie with onlytheinspired.com. Yay. We are on day 28. Holy moly. We are ramping this thing up with a vengeance at the end of this Coach Summit. So if you're just now joining us, my name is Robin Leslie, and I have created onlytheinspired.com, which is a course taking coach giving site unlike any other. So it is a group of like-minded people, a group of coaches from all different areas, helping you to reach whatever goals that you have for your life. And there's courses on there. It's kind of like a Netflix style, right? So you pay a monthly membership fee and you get access to all of the coaches and all of the courses. And the purpose of that is to help you get healthy, help you get financially stable, help you to be able to connect with your kids and have a great relationship. So there's coaching on every area that you could think of. And it is just an amazing platform that we are launching on Tuesday on the 1st. Yeah, I'm so excited. So today we are on day 28 of the Only the Inspired Coach Summit, and the Coach Summit is all about the value of coaching, because a lot of people have no idea what coaching is outside of the sports arena. And so I'm going to give you two excellent examples today of what coaches can do for you. And like the first coach we have is Meredith Viguers. And so she is a strategic business coach. And so she helps, I'm stumbling over my words. She helps you to actually outsource yourself. And so you don't prevent your business from growing. She helps you get more profitable. I can't wait for you guys to hear her interview. It's absolutely amazing. And she is going to be a coach on our site. And then we have Gary Martinez Jr. And so he is the father of an autistic daughter. And so when that circumstance came up, he realized that it was such a struggle for parents of special needs children that he's focusing his time and effort on helping those parents go through those struggles, go through all of the ins and outs of all of the doctor's appointments and how to connect with your child that is special needs, because they are completely different than regular children. So I'm very excited to share both of these interviews today. And so I am going to bring up the beautiful Miss Meredith. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, how are you? I'm great, thank you.
I'm good. So this is the rock star from Texas. And she has her fingers dipped in everything, and she is just kicking ass out there. And so I'm super excited about her interview and all of the ways that she can help business owners really take advantage of outsourcing. So you're not doing everything yourself as a business owner. I've been there where you put on 17 different hats and you just get so depleted, and that's where she was. And so I can't wait for you to hear her story and how she can help you as a small business owner. And so Miss Meredith, so how are things going? You said things are really kicking up for you.
They are. They're really busy right now. And I'm going to apologize. I had some dental work done and I can't feel this half of my face. So excuse me for having a little less expression than I typically would. But no, they're really busy right now. We have multiple businesses that we work in, and we have our catering company has had to pivot a lot since mid-March of this year. And we're really just kind of finding our foothold in this new world that we're all in now. We're seeing what's going to come back, what normal looks like. My staff never thought in a million years they would be catering events with masks and gloves and everyone carrying their sanitizer and all these other things that we're now doing. But we've been able to discover some new patterns and put in place some new services and products that our client base is really loving. So now we're looking at, how do we continue this service and keep it growing while we hopefully get back to catering those large events here pretty soon. And keep it going on both sides. And our staff is getting really good at being innovative and creative. And now all of a sudden, I'm not the only creative, crazy one out there. They're helping me too. So it's been great.
Yes. And you're also helping other business owners get out of the same situation. And we have, quite an amazing interview, and it goes a lot into detail on what you do and where you came from and where you were when you kind of hit that wall.
Yeah.
And I've been there, and I think just about all small business owners, especially brick and mortar, understand, holy moly, I thought, it was going to be great owning my business. And now it's like, I do nothing but work. And so you're going to show people how to get out of that and actually get more profitable. Yay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you want to share anything before we play your interview?
You know what? I would just say be open. That's the biggest thing when a lot of entrepreneurs get to that point where they've hit the wall, is they just go, they tend to close down a little bit. So just be open, and hopefully there's something here that resonates. And then I guess we'll be around to do some Q&A when it's all done.
Absolutely. So for everybody watching, please let us know where you're coming in from. And as we're going through the interview, please put any comments that you have for Meredith in the chat. And then I'm going to bring her up after the interview, and we're going to answer any questions that you have. And if you're going to watch the interviews anyways, please share a watch party or invite people to watch the interviews. And, we just want to really expand the reach on how valuable coaching is, and business coaching, especially in this day and time. Small businesses have been hit harder than probably any other time. And so this is something that could really, really benefit them. So please share the videos, and I'm going to share the interview, and then we will see you back in a little bit, and make sure you put any questions in the chat for us, and we will see you shortly. Miss Meredith, will you mute your microphone, pretty please?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. This is Robin Leslie with OnlyTheInspired.com doing another incredible interview today. We have the amazing Meredith Viguers, and I hope I pronounced that right. And so I am super excited about this interview. And so let's get into it. So Miss Meredith, in a couple of minutes, describe who you are and how you help people.
So my name is Meredith Viguers. You did say it correctly.
Yay.
And I am a serial entrepreneur. So I'll start with a confession. That's who I am. I am a wife of almost 23 years. I have 3 sons and my first granddaughter, who is almost 9 months old now. But how I got to where I am today and sort of what I do is I am a small business owner. I have been for many years. And literally the frustration of owning small businesses has brought me to the point where I am today, which is that I help other traditional small business owners who are in that point where they're just like super frustrated and stuck. They really want to grow their business, but they've got to do it more profitably and with less of their own time. And so what I do is help them in that process by getting the right team in place, so they can build processes and systems to really grow their business more effectively and not spend all the years like I did working 80 hours a week, never having enough money for payroll, et cetera, et cetera.
I feel you. I've been there. And owning your own physical business, you put on every hat possible, and it's
absolutely
overwhelming. Yes. So how did you get started? You kind of explained that, how you got started. Was it an event or a series of events, just years of frustration, and finally, okay, this has got to stop?
Yeah. So I actually, there was just, how you have those moments. Well, I had a moment, and it was a Friday afternoon that I distinctly remember walking into my office and just thinking, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I cannot pull another 80-hour week. I am so tired of sitting down to do payroll and just praying that a few people wait to go cash their check, because if they all try to go today, it ain't going to clear, right? And I remember that moment of thinking, I can't handle this anymore. I just can't do it. And what was crazy is at the time, we were touted by like our local chamber of commerce as, hey, this is how you take a small home-based business and you grow it into this massive success. And here we were 10 years and 100 plus employees later. And what they all thought was success was absolutely my nightmare. Like I didn't know any better. And so when I built the business, I built it with literally all roads leading to my office. So that meant every problem, every challenge, every employee, all 100 plus of them came to me. And it was just completely something I could not maintain anymore. So I decided to go to a seminar, one of those places where you go and you're around positive people all week. And I just thought I need to get my mind in a better place, because you can imagine at that point, having been there for years and years and years, I was in a pretty dark spot just in terms of my own personal mental stability. So I went to this conference, and it was, I spent the entire week just getting to know people and literally complaining to everyone I met about this business that, I had built into this great thing that I hated. So it was like one of those things. It wasn't until the last day of the conference, and I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I grew up in church. So this is how I relate it was one of those speakers where everything he was saying was something I had heard before, right? So there was no new information, but for whatever reason, he said something that day that I had probably heard 100 other times, and it just hit me different. And so what I realized and what I walked away with finally on the very last day was that I had the ability to change my mind. Like really just to say, this is not the way I want it to be anymore. I'm going to change it. And as simple as that sounds, it's one of those things it is simple. It doesn't mean it's easy, right? But it's simple. And I grasped onto that concept that day and came back and just began a journey. And that journey really was about developing myself. I had poured so much time, effort, money, everything into the business that I had completely neglected me in the process. And so when I came back and finally said, I am so beat down that I have to start growing personally again. And as soon as I made that decision and I changed my mind and started that process, I grew and the business started growing with me. And so it really just began a process for me of like, I became you can use the terminology personal development junkie, like anything and everything that could help me with my thought process and help the way that I had an outlook on like whatever it was. I was going to read it, listen to it, watch it. I was all in on those things. And so for me, it was kind of two moments, right? Like I had that Friday afternoon where I just said, I'm over it. If this is as good as it gets, I'm gone, and then that follow-up moment of, no, I actually have the ability to make this change, and then began to affect that change. So it was that pivotal time. And it's been about 4 years ago now.
And then how far after that, before you decided to help other people get out of that same
stress?
So
I am one of those people that has always learned best by teaching others, right? And so it didn't take long for me at all. Now, part of this process is keep in mind that I'm very involved in my community. So I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce. We're in a very large church, sports with our kids and all these different things. So there are a lot of people who are a witness, so to speak, to my life. And it did not take more than about a month for people who were close enough to know what I was normally like to start going, something is different. Like you look like you've slept. And literally it was the first time in almost 10 years that I could sleep at night. I went 8 years without more than 4 hours of sleep at night.
Oh my gosh, that would kill me.
Well, it almost killed me. So, and my doctor had told me at that point, you've normalized a level of stress that would kill most people. But it was so common to me at that time that it was just what I dealt with. So when friends and family, literally within the first couple of months, started to say, what has happened? Because this is not Meredith from 2 months ago. It was really easy for me to start saying, well, I'm doing this, or I'm trying this, or come with me to this, And so it didn't take long for me to see that what I was gaining access to, people needed desperately. And I noticed some massive changes in my personal life and my business within 6 months of that time. When I tell you I came back and started making changes, now I'm a quick action person, and any of the entrepreneurs that I coach and do consulting work for, they know that that's like rule number one. When we finish a consulting session or a workshop or anything else, what are you doing within 5 minutes to take action? Right? That is something we always set. So that's something I do personally. Well, I got results that paid for my initial investment in those seminars I was going to in a week. You fast forward a year from that time, and the things that I was doing added 6 figures to the bottom line of the company revenue. Well, by the time you're doing that and these people are saying, wait a minute, your business is exploding right now. And we were a 10-year-old company. We weren't a new startup, right? So we did 240% of sales in our 10th year. And so people could see what was going on, but they could also see that all of a sudden, I wasn't at work all the time. I was actually at my kids' football and baseball games, or I was traveling, and I had several people reach out and go, I haven't seen you travel in a decade, and you've been on 4 trips in the last quarter. Like what is happening here? And so what I quickly realized is that I wasn't alone. And this is something that business owners desperately need to understand, is that we tend to be people who assume that no one understands what we're going through, what we're dealing with, right? My problems are completely unique to me. Yes, they are. And every other business owner, right? Because we all have this unique ability to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. That's what we do, or we wouldn't be the business owners, right? We wouldn't be the ones that say, yeah, I'll take all the risk. Oh, sure, I'll mortgage my house, or I'll spend my life savings, or I'll take the responsibility for, 5 other families that are now going to work for me. Whatever it is, we all are wired in a way that says, I'm okay with dealing with that. So it means that you're not alone. It just means that you have to put yourself in situations where you can find the other people who become your tribe, right? And that's where a lot of that came to fruition for me, is once I realized there was a group of people out there that needed this information, it didn't take me long to see results in my business, but I also know that I'm a really quick actor. And I thought, if I could take everything that I have learned over the last couple of years, right? All the seminars, the workshops, the books, the podcasts, and all these things, all the money that I've invested to that, and I could condense it into a shorter time frame so that other business owners who, and I had heard this from a lot of people, like, good for you, I can't take a week to fly to Florida and go attend a seminar, or I can't spend $5,000 on a program, or I can't, those kind of things. And while a lot of people in the personal development world might say, oh, you're just setting limitations on yourself, find a way to go do it, I realized that we all start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so there were a lot of people that just needed that starting place to say, okay, I need to know someone understands what I'm going through, that they get the problems I'm facing, and they have a real and very practical way to approach the challenge so that I can do something 5 minutes after we get done with this to go move my business forward. And so that was the approach that I started taking to helping other people. And it didn't take long before it was like, oh, there's a lot of other people who need this help. So I have done this for the last 3 years in different capacities, but really this year, with everything that's happened with COVID, I mean, my traditional business owners are just, they're crushed. And so March of 2020 is really when I said, okay, it's time to step in. My companies are very fortunate. My catering company, we specialize in large events. we're not flourishing right now as caterers. However, I have an amazing team who's taking care of that company. They're taking care of our customers. We've pivoted our business model. Like, the doors are open, we're operating. And next year we'll be back to flourishing. My honey company is doing really well right now. We've got a great team there that's steadily growing that company. And as I really looked at that, I thought, okay, this is the time for me to take a step back from being and I'm involved a little bit with those companies, but I'm not in the day-to-day operations. And this was the time that businesses need help more than ever. So it was definitely time to make the transition in terms of where the majority of my efforts are spent. And I love small business owners. Like, I could do this part all day, every day, working with businesses, talking strategy and all those kind of things. It's literally what I would jump out of bed every morning the rest of my life to do. So it was time to start that transition to this being a little bit more of where my effort was spent.
Incredible story. And I totally resonate with you. I owned a beauty salon for 3.5 years and was so exhausted. Well, because I bought the salon, I was a bartender who bought a beauty salon, and then I got pregnant, and then I started doing body wraps. So it was bartending, beauty salon, baby body wraps, and Mother's Day would come, and it's like, what do you want for Mother's Day? All I want is a nap. So I had like 5 days off the whole time I was pregnant with my daughter.
Yep.
5 days off total, and yeah, it just beats you down. And I could have used that help then. That was my first brick and mortar business, and it was tough. It's not fun. And you're the janitor, you're the hire, the firer, you're the maintenance guy, everything.
And the accountant and the administrator and I get it. It is the way that all works. And what's crazy, and this is the reason, so I work with business owners of any kind around the world, but part of the reason that so much of my message and so much of what I talk about is to traditional small business owners is I feel like, generally speaking, there's a big gap in the marketplace. There's a lot of business consultants and coaches and people that do love to come in and work with businesses, but often they really concentrate on people that are in service industries because it's easier. And so the challenge with that traditional business model is we are talking about rent. We are talking about inventory control. We're talking about employees. We're talking about fixed expenses that don't change when the government says you have to close. We're talking about a very different set of parameters that, quite honestly, for someone like me who's a little crazy, make it more challenging and therefore more entertaining. But at the same time, for so many people, they make it to where team who's taking care of that company. They're taking care of our customers. We've pivoted our business model. Like, the doors are open, we're operating. And next year we'll be back to flourish. Over 50% of a honey company this year. And what I do with Empowered You is I help these traditional businesses that want to grow, but so there's some selfish motivation behind this process, is that I am using the workshops and the small groups that I work with to actually determine companies that I would like to be an owner in going forward. So the big vision is that I would like to have a portfolio of companies that I have an ownership stake in, where I work obviously very closely with the other owners that are involved in those companies, so that we can grow our own portfolio and work with those businesses very closely. So that's one component of it. The other component of it is I love the concept of training people so they can give back, right? And I think that's it's a big component of small business, because small business doesn't just affect the business owner and the employees. If you look at most communities in this country, right? And I'm not talking about your uber huge cities, but most of the country, those medium cities, the small cities, the community development is done by small businesses. Well, small business owners can't really get involved in that process when they're tied to the day-to-day operations of the business. And so one of the things that I want to help small business owners free up is time, because I believe that most entrepreneurs at the heart level, they're servants. They want to serve people, or they would never get into business in the first place, right? Because the vast majority of people, if we're honest about it, they're not necessarily money motivated. They don't just go into business to get rich, although that's a great byproduct, and every single entrepreneur out there should, in fact, get rich. So that should be a goal. But most of those people want to use that wealth. They want to use that platform. They want to use the staff that they have to go affect other people. Well, our communities don't benefit from burnout entrepreneurs that never have enough cash in their pockets, right? So that's really a lot of my goal, is to see communities around our country impacted by entrepreneurs who get to be who they really are. Because I think at heart, they really want to serve people. And when they're not worried about cash flow, and when they're not worried about when their next day off is going to be, they're volunteering for things. They are involved with charities. They are involved with their city government. You know, I look at our city council in the areas that I live, and probably 60% of them are made up of small business owners, or people who were small business owners and sold the business or something like that. But that segment of our population is really responsible for a lot of what happens at a local level. And I think part of a byproduct of what we're seeing happen in our country today, generally speaking, is the fact that we've gotten away from what a community does for itself. And so when we're constantly looking at the country as a whole, we get away from the aspect of, well, wait a minute, what if we took care of our community? And when our small business owners are freed up and they have time and they have resources, they naturally take care of their communities. And when our communities are taken care of in that capacity, you don't see all of this other mess that's happening in a lot of these places, because people do feel cared for and they do feel like they're part of something. So, you know, that bigger mission for me is really, I guess when you boil it all down to it, it's just helping entrepreneurs get the business to the point where it's not their sole focus. Because when they don't have to have that be their sole focus, then they get to go be who they really are. And that's when we have more impact in the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and somebody said entrepreneurs, they give up the 40-hour a week work for 80 hours a week and less money.
Yeah. And most
a lot of times
it's true. And, you know, they don't think it's going to be that way when they get started.
Right.
Of course, like nobody in their right mind would do that on purpose. So it's never what they imagine it to be. And that's why it's so important, because until about 4 years ago, I didn't know that I could do it this way. I didn't think it was possible. And so it was just because I didn't know what I didn't know. And it took me being around people who could help me see, number one, the fact that I thought it wasn't possible was just me not knowing anyone who did it a different way. That's really as simple as it was. And so it was understanding that, oh no, there are people who do this better than I do, and getting advice from them and being coached by them and things of that nature. But you know, once we understand that if someone else is doing it this way, and this can be done, it's a physical law, right? So if I can do it and it can be done this way, any business owner can do it. They just have to be willing to switch, you know, this thing up here that says, oh, yes, no, it is possible because someone else has already done it, which means I just don't know what I don't know. And so I need to go learn so that I can make the changes I need to make.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the business owners that are unwilling to take their hands off because they don't trust other people to do it as well as they do?
Well, first of all, and this is literally what I start my conferences with, right? So you, as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, you are absolutely your company's greatest asset. You know every part of that business. You know the inner workings. You created the idea, the concept. You know the customers. You know their language, all of this. You're also your biggest liability, because until you get out of the way, the company cannot grow effectively, right? So the biggest challenge for entrepreneurs, and we should just get this out there, no one is going to do it as well as you do. That's not some huge secret, right? I created the business. So in my catering company, they're all my recipes. No one's going to make my recipes as good as I do. But what's great is I've got a kitchen manager who's been with me now for 11 years, and he makes all of my recipes today 98 out of my 100%. Okay. I can live with that. Now, realistically, what we teach people is if you can find somebody who is your 80%. Now, I'm making an assumption here, so let me clarify what the assumption is. The assumption is that your 100% as the business owner is excellent. So I would never go and say, oh, well, somebody else's 80% of my 100 is good if my 100% was 80% against the marketplace, right? I know my 100% in the catering marketplace is 250% of everyone else. We are the best at what we do, hands down, no question. I will fight that. No questions asked. We have the best quality. We have the best people. I have no qualms about that. So the day that I had to learn that someone else's 80% was okay, my staff's 80% of my 100 was still 150% of everyone else. So if you're good, and I'm assuming that you're good because you wouldn't be here trying to learn how to get better if you weren't already good, right? Because the people who are okay with being mediocre, they're not trying to listen to a coach. They're not trying to get mentored. They're just okay with getting by. So the people who are trying to get better and really learn are generally already at the top of their game. So realistically, if you can find someone who is 80% of your 100 on a skill set and they match your core values, and this is key. You're going to see it on that free PDF that we talked about. This is key. You've got to hire people based on value, not skill. It's absolutely imperative, because if they're 80% of the skill, but they match you in value, guess what? You can train skill. You can't teach integrity. No. If someone doesn't line up, you can't teach core value, but you can teach skill all day long if they've got the majority of what you need to have there. So as a business owner, get it out of your head that you're going to find you, because you won't. And the other aspect of that a lot of business owners kind of forget along the way when they get frustrated about staffing things, as a business owner, and especially if this is the first time you're bringing staff in, you've done every job in the company. You're not going to find anyone else who's going to do every job in the company. So sometimes when you're hiring for what you've done, you actually need 3 or 4 different people to fill that job, because it's not one thing. So it's really important to understand that when you're looking to bring someone in, you're never looking for you. If you are, you'll never be happy with what you find, and no one will ever live up to your expectations. And you'll just spend that time frustrated and going, oh, this staffing stuff doesn't work. And really what it is understanding, and we do an exercise in our 2-day workshop that goes through this. It's understanding all of the roles that are being done in your company and how many of those you're currently performing that you have no idea you're doing. Because most business owners, when I ask them, so what's your role in the company? They'll say something like, oh, I take care of sales and marketing. But then when we actually dive in to really listing out all these different roles, they do 20 other things but they're so used to doing them, and it's just part of what they do every day, that they don't even give it credence as to a specific role that a person, not them, should be doing. And so there's that challenge. But the biggest thing that business owners can do is never look for someone to replace you. Just don't do it. Because it's not going to work that way. But you will find people that will come alongside you in that process. That's why that piece about hiring for value and not skill is so important.
I think that's super powerful. Yay. So what beliefs do you have that set you apart from your competition when it comes to business coaching in this manner?
So I think the biggest difference probably in belief when it comes to coaching. Now, first of all, I have to qualify what I do as a combination of coaching and mentoring. So there's a difference in just, for anyone, I don't know if you guys have covered this in other episodes, but a coach is really someone who's there to ask you the right questions so that they can help you draw out the answers that you already have to these questions. You just need someone to trigger that the right way. A mentor is somebody who comes in and says, okay, I've done this before, and either here's the mistake I made or here's how I did it correct. Let me help you along the way. Right. So I operate in both of those capacities, and I kind of switch in and out of them, which is part of what makes me unique in that a lot of people do either one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for a lot of small business owners, they do have a lot of their own answers that they need someone to help draw out of them. But at the same time, there are certain things when you're getting into numbers and when you're getting into business calculations that they need someone to actually hold their hand and say, okay, this is how I learned to do it, and you can too. And I think what makes me unique in that is that I'm not an academic from that standpoint. So I don't have a degree in business administration or any of these other things. I learned this process by being someone who hated the numbers and figuring out that I had to know what they were. So I learned QuickBooks, and I learned all of the accounting forms, and I learned how to do our P&L and how to do our balance sheet and how to calculate costs and how to calculate margins and do all of those things the hard way. And so I think what I bring to the table for a lot of small business owners is they don't want to be talked to by someone who they believe feels superior. Right. And that's really important, is that a lot of small business owners have made it by trial and error. We operated on that level, right? It's like, hey, I understand that you're about to teach me this, but at the same time, I'm going to go out and mess it up and then figure out how to do it the right way. Right. So when I sit with people, a lot of what I talk about is, okay, so this is how I messed it up. And I'm very transparent about that. And this is something that definitely sets me apart from other business coaches and consultants, is that I will often sit with people who say, well, I went to something that my local chamber has or something that this organization offers, and these are supposed to be resources to help me. But the people that are working at those resources to help you draw your business plan and do all of these things have never actually owned a business. Mm-hmm. And that is unfathomable to me. So one of the things that I go through with the entrepreneurs that I work with is we throw it all out there. Look, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company when I was 18. My catering company that is 14 years in now and yes, has been very successful, was my 5th business. We have gone bankrupt. You want to know the best feeling in the entire world? Was walking out of a bankruptcy court knowing it was done. It was the first time in over a year that I felt like I could take a deep breath. So I get what that feels like. I understand what it's like to make a lot of money. I understand what it's like to lose a lot of money and make it again and lose a lot more. Like we've done this game a couple of times. And so I think what a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with feel when we're working is, I'm not sitting here telling you what sounds good. I have lived this life. And it's all I've known for we're going to just say over 20 years now. And I say all the time, like, I'm certifiably unemployable. I have not had a boss since I was 23 years old. I don't even know what that looks like. So, but I get the entrepreneur's journey in a very unique way. And I think most people need someone to sit with them because, if I'm being honest, there's a lot of times where that first conversation I have with someone, they need to vent, or they need to cry, or it's all built up and nobody in their world understands. You can't tell your family about these things because you're going to get the I told you so's, or you're going to get, like in my family, it's a well-known thing, and this has been on video many times, so my parents have heard it. I don't talk to my parents about business stuff. My mom will worry herself sick about my business stuff. And so it's like, you know what? She asks how things are going. Good, Mom. Things are good. We just leave it at that. So sometimes it's the family aspect of it. You can't talk to your employees because their livelihood is at stake. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm very open with my employees and we have a lot of conversations, but when they're the cause of my challenges, I can't sit there and cry in front of them. I've got to have someone else who understands that part of my journey. And so it's really important when we sit down that frustration bubbles over. I've been there. I've had that exact. In fact, I remember a moment in a mastermind group that I was part of a few years ago when we were going through some really severe growing pains with the catering company. And things were good, but we were on that verge. And anyone who's been in business for a long time may understand this. And if you haven't, I pray you'll get there someday because it means you're really growing. We were on the verge of it either skyrocketing or plummeting to the ground. And it was going to do one or the other. It wasn't going to be an even keel thing. We were either going to take off or it was all over. So it was a lot of stress. And I sat down in one of our group meetings with this mastermind group, and one of the participants looked at me and said, "How are you holding up?" And I lost it. Just lost it, because there was no other group of people that I could be that raw in front of, because everybody else in my world depended on me in some way. And so these people, it didn't matter to them if my business succeeded or failed. Other than obviously they would want it to succeed, but they weren't dependent on it. And it was like, oh, this is a safe place where I just get to let go. And so when I'm talking with people and working with people, what's different is that I've been you. Like, I've walked in those shoes, and I totally get every part of the crazy up and down journey that you take as an entrepreneur. So I'm approaching it from what actually happens day in, day out in business, not from a classroom.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. And I've been there. Yeah. And so you're in the spot, just like you were saying, hoping that a couple people don't cash their check right away. That's not something that you could, talk to your employees about. You can't really talk to your family about and stress them out. And I've been there. It's like, oh my gosh, if they put a 24-hour notice that the power is going out at the salon, I would just be mortified. And I got super close a couple times, and it was so scary. And you try and keep your cool. And I remember going through times and I just clenched my jaw. I've never been so stressed ever as when. Yeah. And, and it's not something that only affects you. If you have to close the doors, now you affect everybody else that's in there.
Well, and I think what's interesting, so, I didn't know that you had a salon, and I didn't know that part of your story, right? And I know that you know a little bit of mine, but not all of it for sure. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee you, when you were going through that time, because I was feeling the same thing, I thought, I'm the only business like this. I did something wrong, right? And this is what I'm experiencing. Certainly every other business out there is crazy profitable, and it's just me. And what I found is as I have started working in this world of working with all of these other small business owners and entrepreneurs, is the vast majority, this is their experience on a regular basis. It's not one time. And so part of me, today that makes me sad because I want to go help all these people, right? But when I first heard that, I remember thinking, oh God, it's not just me. Like I was so relieved. And so I think what most small business owners want to hear is you're not alone. This is so much more common than you think. Nobody wants to talk about it. So you're never going to walk into a networking event and ask the people you're trying to do business with, like, how's everything going? And then they're going to go, oh, it sucks. Our electricity is about to get cut off. I mean, nobody's ever going to tell you that, right? So you walk into a networking event and you're there with all these business owners and, oh, how's it going? Great. Q3 is looking up this year and we're doing this and we're doing this, right? Nobody's honest in those situations. And so what we have to do and what we're charged with in this coaching arena is giving people a place where they get to be vulnerable and say, I don't know what's wrong. I'm not getting it right. Know they're not alone. Know that there's no judgment in that process. And first of all, coming out and saying that, letting it out there and saying, but I'm going to make it right. I'm going to figure this out, right? I'm going to turn the table. I'm going to move on to the next thing. That piece right there, that simple shift is what puts business owners who do move on in a very small percentage, because most people go, all right, I give, and they shut the doors. And so, for anybody who's here listening that is at that place where you're struggling with, do I, don't I, do I, don't I, don't. There is a way forward. There is a way forward. It's just a matter of being able to identify what your current thought process is and then making a choice to change it and finding the people to help you in that journey. And again, like I say, it sounds really simple, and it is simple. It doesn't mean it's always easy. So there's a different thought process that you have to work through there, but the people who are willing to own whatever it is that's going on in that business today and say, okay, I got here. So I caused something that put us here, right? I own that. But because I own it, I can change it. And so if you think about this philosophy in terms of homes, right? So what happens when you go and you rent a house from someone? What do you get to do when you move in? You get to move your stuff in. If you're lucky, you can put some things up on the wall, but you have to use those little tacky things, and you can't put any holes in the wall. You can't change the paint. You can't do anything else. Well, what happens when you buy a home and you own it? You can change whatever the hell you want to. Mm-hmm. You can go in and paint every wall in that house a different color if you want to, because you own it. And so because you own it, you can change it. And the same thing applies to business. When you own it, then you get to change the outcome because you're responsible for it. So that responsibility allows you to make changes. And that's why it's so crucial for entrepreneurs, that are listening to this and that are part of communities like this, understand that, hey, I am taking responsibility for this. I'm saying, all right, I made mistakes. I'm here today. I own it. I'm ready to change it. And then they can move forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, because a lot of times you don't think that there's any other option, especially if you can't talk to anybody. It's like, right. I am in this all on my own. I have to figure it all out by myself. And sometimes that doesn't work out well because you're unaware. You don't know what you don't know, exactly what you said. Yes, absolutely. I love what you're doing. Did I ask you what the hardest thing was to overcome when starting your business?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Ooh, that is a tough one. Okay, so
this business.
Oh, with this business? Okay, so that's different. With this business, actually, okay, so this is, all right, vulnerability moment. The hardest thing to overcome with this business is that I've been doing this work for 3 years. I've been doing it under the umbrella of another company that I've done work with for a while, with people who have a name, right? And I've had great success with it. I've mentored people that have done amazing things in their businesses and seen just crazy results. So I know that what I do works. However, this year, my partner and I decided it was time to kind of split things. He's based in Europe, and obviously I'm in the States. And so he was going to take his business in a different direction that was European based. It didn't really work. And so that's why I actually branched this into my own company. And the biggest setback was, is anybody going to take me up on this when it's my name on it and not his?
Limiting beliefs.
It was a limiting belief for sure. And what's crazy is I'm generally a very confident person. So when I found that belief starting to creep in, because I legit before our first event got scared, like, oh my God, are we going to sell any tickets? And then I went, wait a minute. Like, I've been doing this for years and I've got results and I know it works and all of that. But those old things in us, you know, they creep back up. And so even though I've been a very confident person for a long time, that was the very first thing that kind of crept in. So just having to, again, own the fact that, okay, this belief exists because I've allowed it. So I've got to own that first of all. Then I've got to shut it down. Then I've got to change my mind and move forward. And, you know, that with this particular company, that was probably my biggest challenge, followed very close second by dealing with technology. So I will just go on record and say I've built multiple 7-figure businesses and had tons of success. And oh my gosh, like just all of the technology that goes into building an online business, because this business is my first one that's been solely online. Thank God for amazingly talented people that I can hire to do all of that. But what I found is that I had to know enough about it to know who to hire, obviously, to make sure that I would get the right people. And it's so not my area. So that was definitely a close second in terms of challenges.
That's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting onlytheinspired.com is because it's crazy how many little itty bitty things that you have to piece together and do this and do that. And if it's not your skill set, it takes you 5 times as long, if not longer, to get it done. And as you're learning, it's like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy.
The guy who builds my sales funnels, so funny story, we're building out the initial funnel and we're going through all of, he's going, okay, what do you want this to do? And how do you want this to line up? And, my whole point was get it to where all I have to do is shoot a video for you. And if I can do that, I'm good, because I can talk all day long. If we're waiting on me to write copy, it's not going to happen. If we're waiting on me to learn technology, it's not going to happen. Those are not my strong suits. So we finally got to the point where he was messaging me. He goes, okay, so we need to set up an account in this, area. And this is going to do this. And then we need to set up an account with Zoom. And then we need to set up a calendar. And then we need to set up. So after about the 3rd or 4th, and then we need to set up message, I said, look, here's what's about to happen. I'm going to send you my credit card information on LastPass. You're going to use my standard email and password, and you're just going to go set up whatever the hell I need set up, and then tell me what the damage is when it's all said and done, because it was like every time he came back to me, I'm going, another thing? What are you talking about? And, it's all set up and working and all of that now, and it's fine. But if I was the one that had to go in and do all of those things, like, God bless you, because it is a challenge for sure.
It is. Yes. So do you have the support network of friends and family encouraging you to do this, or is this something you feel compelled to do?
Well, I'll start by saying, yes, I feel compelled to do it because I feel like what I'm doing now and in this place is what the calling on my life is to do. Like I am on this planet to speak practically to people who have the same crazy entrepreneurial mind that I do, right? So I know that I'm doing what I will do in some way, shape, or form until the day I die. Like that, we're there. But I also have an incredible network of friends and family. My husband is ridiculously supportive. Like he's to the point, and we're very opposite. So I'm totally the risk taker. He is not at all. So we balance each other very well in that standpoint. I will walk in the house and say, guess what? And he's like, did we buy another company today? Like it's just one of those things.
Not yet. It's only 3:30.
Right, exactly. So, so he's great from that standpoint. And then I have an amazing church family that is, it's funny. There was a statement that was said to me years ago in a seminar that was, if people don't laugh at you when they hear your dreams, they're not big enough. I've never had people in my life like that. Like I say some pretty crazy stuff and everyone around me is like, that's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens. I've just always surrounded myself with really positive people. And so there's that group of people. And then I've got a pretty huge community actually of other coaches. I've got mastermind groups that I'm part of. I've got companies that I work with where I do different courses for them, where I help facilitate some of their courses. So I've got probably 5 different networks of people that at any point in time I can go pull from when I need support. And what's amazing about that is that I'm never without someone to turn to who isn't going to encourage me in some way. And so now they will, if I came up with something really crazy, like really, really crazy, they may say, wow, that's amazing. What's your plan? And then I've got
really
to
thought this out.
Yeah, right. But the thing is they're never going to say, you can't do that. I don't have that person in my life. Like if that was any single person in my life's response to something I said about an idea I had or a vision I had or whatever, they wouldn't be in my life anymore. I don't have time for it, right? I've got too many things going on and too many amazing people that I can collaborate with and that I can bounce ideas off of and that, that are all about what's the next thing, So yeah, it's a combination really. I mean, I'm super blessed to have all those people in my life, but I'll also say I'm super intentional in having all those people in my life.
That's beautiful. And you're very clear. That's awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite thing about your business? My favorite thing is hearing the stories about what's different for people. Right. So, and really impacting their lives in a tangible way. So it's one thing for me to hear from people like, hey, my business grew, or we did this, or we did that. But what I really like to know is like, what did it actually do for you? And so in fact, my partner in my honey company, the way that whole thing came about is that she was renting space in my commercial kitchen because she had to be in a licensed place. And last December, she came to me and she was like, I can't pay the rent. I can't find dependable people. I'm super stressed out. I work full time. I don't have time to deal with this. I know there's something here, but I don't see how it's going to work. And so I said, all right, well, let's sit down. And now, mind you, this was just friend to friend. This wasn't a business dealing at this point. So let's sit down and look at the numbers. And so we went through a process there, which I won't get into now. But what it ultimately came down to was there was something there. She just needed someone who knew how to put things in place to make it happen. So I came on as a 50-50 partner, yada, yada. We went through some things. A few months later, revenue's up over 300%. Right. Yay.
And so we're growing and doing different things. Well, here's what's crazy. In 3 months, revenue's up over 300%. We've got the business to 20% profit margin. First time it had ever made a profit. She's taking a paycheck for the first time ever, only working in the business about 10 hours a week. So that was in April. We're now sitting in August. We had put a plan in place and started working. So because she's my partner, I'm not the one personally coaching her. I brought in a coach that I know and trust who's working with her. And we had put a plan in place to say, okay, by December of this year, let's figure out how she can leave the full-time job, go full-time in the business, and really make that transition. She turned in a resignation last week.
Yay.
And so we have our strategic planning session this Thursday to sit down and go, okay, you're full-time now. Let's map out the next 12 months based on this situation. So those are the things. And she said to me, like, I feel free. Well, you can't duplicate a coaching session and having someone say, oh yeah, my business grew. And then having someone come back and say, this happened, this happened, this happened. I feel free. Like that's just, those are the kinds of things for me that, you can't put a monetary value on that, right? Because it's that feeling of, my husband always says this, for him, whenever I used to say to him, like, how much do you want us to make too? And I would try to set parameters because I'm a really goal-oriented person. So I need to have something in front of me all the time. And his response to me was always, I just want to sit back and he just wanted the feeling financially that he could take a deep breath and not worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he can do that today. But, when I'm working with people and I get something like that, where I can't quantify it, but I know that their life is different. Right. And, there's an entrepreneur in a similar situation that I've worked with in the UK for the last few years, that when we started working together, he was a contractor making really good money doing software coding for an insurance company. And he and his wife, very cause driven, they call it a nursery over there. We would call it a daycare here. But they bought a nursery that their kids had gone to that was going to go out of business. And because they loved the building and they loved the people and the teachers and kind of where it was, they decided to buy it. So overnight, they become entrepreneurs. And he went, I have no clue what I'm doing. I need help, So when we first started working together, we put in place a 1-year plan for how they would transition all of that so that he could leave his full-time gig and they would be full-time in the business. He was so focused and able to work so clearly that he took that 1-year plan and did it in 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And so he and his wife are spending every day with their preschool age children, getting to be part of their learning process, affecting their own family and all of these other children. So what he looks like today is he's like, hey, in Europe, this is kind of how they do it, is schools, generally speaking, as well as all businesses, almost all businesses take August as holiday month. Like if you ever go to Europe in August, you're not getting a hotel room anywhere because everyone is on vacation at the same time, right? It's just the way that they operate. So, but they take off the entire month of August now as a family and just travel. This last August, they're on vacation right now. So it would have been last year, August. They rented a boat for the month and just took off on a boat.
How fun would that be?
Right. Yeah. The experiences that they're getting to have with their kids while they're young, while they're at this age, and the memories that they're creating. Yes, the business revenue grew, and that's fantastic. And they're operating very profitably, and they've been able to do some amazing things with their staff. And that was their biggest challenge when they started was staffing related. So those are all amazing things. But to me, the rewarding thing is that family just got an experience of a lifetime that they would have never imagined possible 1 year before that. And so that's the piece of it that I, kind of live for, is just it's great that there are these scalable and really practical wins, because those are super important too. But what do you get to experience in your life because of what we've done in the business? And that's where it makes all the difference.
Yeah. Yay. So what inspires you? What are you passionate about? And it doesn't have to be business. Do you ever take time off?
I do take time off, although it's really hard for me to turn my business brain off, right? So I am one of those, I see opportunities in everything. So even when I'm off, I'm like, oh, we could do this,
Me too.
Is the way my mind works, right? The other things that I'm passionate about, I'm really passionate about community. So I'm the chair of the board for our Chamber of Commerce. And we live in a military community. We're right outside Fort Hood in the middle of Texas. And so about 90% of our population is military affiliated in some way, shape, or form. It's how we got here. My husband was in the Army, and now our oldest son is active duty. And so I love the community partnership here with our military, and I serve in a lot of ways that are conducive to really serving the people who serve. And so that is something I'm massively passionate about. Let's see here. What else? A lot of our time and passion used to be around our kids' sports, but all of them are out of those things now. Our youngest son is 14 and doesn't have any ambitions to continue with the sports that he used to play. My granddaughter, she is the cutest in the world. She's 8.5 months old. And so I love just in the middle of the day on a Wednesday, my son can drop by and say, hey, I've got some stuff to do. Do you want to watch Olivia for a couple of hours? And it's like, yeah, sure. Let's go, because my time is free to do that. So I'm super passionate about just spending time with family. Probably though, my biggest passion outside of business is travel. The more places I go, the more I want to see. The list just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And so it's a goal of mine to see as many places on the planet as humanly possible. I am dying to get on an airplane right now. This is the longest. And we did do some vacation this summer, but we drove. And so I haven't been on a plane in 4 months. And that is the longest time I've gone without a flight in 5 years. Oh. And most of the time I'm traveling somewhere at least twice a month. So I am super stir crazy right now and just want to go somewhere. And we are. I've planned, I think, 3 trips before the end of the year, now that flights are starting to open back up a little bit and all of that. But I love to travel. I love experiencing different cultures. And of course, the foodie in me, I love experiencing different food. So, traveling to places, getting outside of the tourist areas and figuring out like, where do the locals eat, those kind of things. That's one of the most fun things I do when I travel.
Awesome. Are you a tourist?
I try to play both sides of that, right? So touristy things are tourist.
No, a tourist.
Oh, a tourist. No. I'm not. I'm a Scorpio.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm a Scorpio. I know tourists, they love food and drink. I have a friend, Jan, and she'll like drool when she talks about food. She loves it so much. It's so funny. Wow. So who inspires you?
Oh, wow. I could say a list of well-known names, but realistically, the people I'm inspired by are the people who work with me. They collaborate with me. Like, my team is incredible. And it inspires me every day to go help people just by seeing what they're willing to do for me. Like, I am honored that they would be willing to be part of my story, right? Because they could go work for big companies and they could probably make more money and they could do different things, but they partner with us. They come alongside us on our journey. And so, I've got a manager who's been with me for 10 years that has never called in sick one day in 10 years. That inspires the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. The work ethic of people who care deeply about the things that we're doing and the people that we impact. Outside of that, I'm in a community full of really inspiring people because we're in a military town, and we have the unfortunate aspect of that in that we know several Gold Star families, soldiers that didn't get to come home. And my husband is now a firefighter and paramedic. And so unfortunately we have that aspect of it as well. And their families, people who have dealt with just what I can't fathom dealing with. And yet they're in our community and they're serving other people. And they, there's one lady in particular that comes to mind. Her husband was a police officer in our city, and used to come to our restaurant. And he and my husband have worked calls together. And he was killed in the line of duty several years ago. And I remember talking with her shortly after he passed, and of course, she was very much in grieving mode, and 2 small children, and just not sure what to do. And on the anniversary, the first anniversary of his death, she was sitting at home, and just what we would expect anyone to do, crying and grieving and feeling sorry, and called a friend and said, I feel like I owe more to Bobby than what I'm doing today. And so she created a movement from that day. She posted on social media, and it was just a solemn post, but she did #ChooseJoy. And that became a day where she started volunteering in the community. She would do all of these different things in honor of her husband. And this hashtag went, kind of crazy. And there's this memorial bike ride that happens for police officers every year that took that and put it as, as their event hashtag. And so every year it's created this movement of people that when that anniversary pops up, no matter what I'm doing that day, I have to stop and say, you know what, I'm not in Kim's shoes today. So today I choose joy. And people who are willing to overcome circumstances and then use their tragedy to try and help other people in the process, those are the people that inspire me, because it helps me always remember that it's bigger than me. Anytime that I'm feeling frustrated or down or anything else, and I see a hashtag like that, it's like, okay, get out of your head, quit being selfish. It's not about you. And it just is a reminder that life is so much bigger than any one individual. And if we will take a step back and choose joy, then we can affect people in a much different way. And so the people who are really willing to bring that to the world, those are the people who inspire me greatly.
That is beautiful. Yay. So last question.
Okay.
If you could leave one tip or golden nugget for the people listening, and it was the only thing you could say and your only chance to say it, what would that be?
I dare you to jump. Go for it. What have you got to lose? What's the worst thing that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
It's never as bad as you think.
And what's the best thing that could happen?
Exactly. Well, and I do challenge people with that. When I say, what's the worst thing that could happen? And they say, oh, I could fail. No, what's really the worst? Like, go stupid with the worst thing that could possibly happen. Take it as bad as you can think. Because you know what? That's not going to happen. Right? The upside is there. But you'll never know if you don't jump. So just go for it.
I love that. Yay. So is there anything else that you want to share before you talk about your giveaway?
We've covered a lot.
We have. It's an amazing interview.
No, I think we've really covered the basics.
Okay, awesome. So you are going to give away, it's a PDF, 5 mind-blowing mistakes that small businesses make in hiring. I think that's going to help so many people. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So what this is my observation of the things that either, number one, people have made these mistakes, or number two, they've stopped themselves from hiring because of these thought processes. So for some people who are here that are, you've been in business for a while, you have a small team, you're going to recognize these things and go, oh, maybe I didn't really understand, right? But then there's going to be some people who are going to go, well, I've never hired anyone, so I haven't made these mistakes. I guarantee you've had a few of the thoughts. I promise you have. So, and some of these things will actually keep people from hiring because they get scared, right, when they're going through it. So what we do is we talk about these 5 mistakes, and then we're going to give you a really practical solution for a different way to think about that. So what we do here is, I believe in keeping things really simple, because anybody, like I said earlier, needs to get done with what we're doing, whether it's reading a PDF, having a coaching consultation, being at one of our workshops, anything that we do, you need to have something you can leave that interaction with and take action on within 5 minutes. And if you don't have something you can move forward with, then I haven't done my job. So these are just really simple, practical solutions where you can take these 5 mistakes, understand the way that you've thought about them in the past, and then learn a new way to think about it going forward.
That's awesome. I think that's very powerful. So to get that, you're going to go to go.empoweredyou.com. So it's go.m, the letter M, POWEREDYOU.com. And then just put in your name and email.
Yep, absolutely. And then you'll get that PDF sent to you from there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. I think this was just absolutely amazing, and you're going to touch so many people. I totally resonated with you. I'm thinking about all these other businesses right now. It's like, oh my gosh, we need to get her word out, and you can make a huge impact. And it's one of the scariest things to do is own your own business, and then when it's not going beautifully, it's really scary. And for everybody watching, please share this video, share the interview. I think it's going to impact so many people. People need to hear this message. And Meredith, thank you very much again for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yes. All right. So we will see you guys later. Thank you. All right. So how was that?
It's weird to watch yourself
That's
back
what everybody
in
says.
videos.
It's so weird looking at myself. And that was just, that was 10 days ago. So that wasn't too long ago. Yeah, I thought it was just a fantastic interview, and you gave so much information. And I really hope that small business owners, really pay attention to that and take you up on that, the PDF that you're giving away. And so just a reminder for everybody, I will put all of the giveaways for all of the coaches under the announcements tab in the onlytheinspired.com coach summit group. You'll see the guy swinging his jacket there. So you'll find all of the coaches there, what their giveaways are, what links, and then you could always click right on their name and connect with them, follow them, whatever. So I love that part's available and that coaches are in the group. So is there anything else that you would like to share? I love what you're doing, and I know you're kicking ass in your own business, and then you're helping all these other businesses.
Well, I think what's great about being part of a process like this is that you always get the opportunity to expand at the level that you're at. So, I'm working with a lot of business owners who are in the beginning stages of this whole team development and all of these things. And now my businesses are in the stages of, we've got great teams in place, and the business is kind of morphing into some other things based on what's happening in the world today. And so what we're dealing with now is really being able to work with our team to establish, okay, who wants to stay doing what they're doing? Who's interested in moving into maybe this other role or transitioning? And now I'm really helping a lot of the leaders on my team learn how to not only lead with people, but they're starting to have some more of the ideas and contribute to the creative process, which used to really only be me. But they've been part of it now for so long that they're really getting excited about being part of potential expansions and, helping bring other leaders alongside them. And, so you start to see this kind of trickle on effect, which is really cool. And I can't wait to see what that looks like for my team, but then also how we get to transition and help other business owners do the same thing. So, I'm just looking forward to helping as many people as possible. And I know that we're in this time right now where there are still some people that are like, we're just waiting to see what happens. And then other people are like, hey, bring it on. Let's see what the next thing is. And in either capacity, there's so much to do at the moment. And there's really I firmly believe there's going to be a ton of opportunity that comes out of this time for the people that are ready to jump and take a little bit of risk.
And sometimes they might not know that what's going on. Like at my day job, for example, obviously 50% capacity at restaurants. And so now we didn't have outdoor seating. Now we had just expanded the restaurant. So now we have a whole bunch of outdoor seating, which has been packed because people absolutely love it. So now you just increase your numbers once everything gets back in a normal, but in the meantime, yes. All right. How do we maneuver through these issues? And some businesses are just flat shut down right now, but there's always, if you can brainstorm and get in that creative mode, there's always different ways that you could try and figure out how to do it. And if that business is done, that does not mean there's not another business in the horizon that might be more perfect for you. So you never know. But yeah, I love what you're doing. I think it's awesome, and yay. Yeah, good.
It's a lot of fun.
And I'm so glad you're not eating soup in front of us today. I just joking. You totally cannot even see that you had dental work done, but I know how you feel it, and it feels all weird. Good. Yeah. You're beautiful as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any questions for Miss Meredith, please put them in the chat or connect with her in the group, and make sure you go and sign up for that PDF and see if she can help you. See if she can help shift your mindset on, hiring and outsourcing, so you are not so physically fatigued. Like I said, I've never been as extremely tired ever as when I owned my salon, and it was a brand new business. And I was a bartender who bought a beauty salon, and I knew nothing about what I was doing. And then you just get buried. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And sometimes, you need that space. You need that person that totally understands you. They've been through that. They've been through the ups and downs and how to get out of that overwhelm and stress. So please reach out to Meredith. Yes. Love that. Love that. Awesome. And I'm not sure. So Soukena, she's pivoting on different things. So we're not going to show her interview today, but we will show Mr. Gary Martinez Jr. And he's going to try and meet up with us. He's got several appointments today. So I will be showing his interview in just a little bit. Meredith, do you want to share anything else before we get going, or do you?
I would just say, connect, feel free to ask questions here, and I will come back. So if there's anybody, I know a lot of people are watching recordings because they're doing different things during the day. So if anybody has any specific questions or anything they want to throw in the comments or in the chat, I will come back into the group a little bit later to take a look at those and see if there isn't anything that I can address directly with those. But otherwise, I'd love to connect with people and just see what we can do to help. I mean, there's tons of options right now. And what you were saying about, how you bought the beauty salon and all of that, that is actually such a common story. There are so many people out there who are in a certain industry and they just find an opportunity. I mean, that's kind of how you know who the real entrepreneurs are, right? Like an opportunity comes up and they might not have any experience in that field whatsoever. And they go, this sounds like a great idea, right? And they just jump into it. And so what I think most of them need is they need that spirit, right? This world needs that entrepreneurial spirit that says, I know nothing about this, but I'll figure it out. But then we also at some point have to counter that with, okay, I really know nothing about this and I need some help. There's kind of that universal aspect to it. And what's great about that is I think that most people, once they get to a point where they understand the general dynamics of business, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Like the things that we talk about and that we coach people on and we work with people through, they're not specific to one business, right? They're fairly universal. And it's really just having that general understanding. And what's amazing, and I have seen this happen time and time again as well with the entrepreneurs that I've worked with, is that once they grasp these concepts, right, and they get to a point where they really understand what works, not just for that particular business, but in business, generally speaking, and how the people aspect of it works and things of that nature, next thing you know, like they've started another company or they've added on to their portfolio. And because you realize that the things that we teach and the things that we work with people on are universal. And I had someone ask me about that not too long ago, like, hey, how do you work with people in Europe? Don't they have different regulations than we do here? And how do you know what to tell them and this and that? The reality is most of what business owners need to work on has very little to do with laws and regulations. And it has everything to do with how they think about the things that they're doing on a daily basis. And our thoughts know no bounds of countries, right? I work with entrepreneurs in Romania, in Sweden, in the UK, and Ireland, and all these different places. And we all go through the same challenges because they're thought challenges, right? And they're people challenges. People, by and large, are the same. People by and large are the same. Mm-hmm. We might have some cultural differences. We might do some things different ways. But when you talk about people at the core, it really is a lot of the same situations, regardless of where we are in the world. So, I would just encourage people, if you have a question, and I'll say this to the business owners that are watching, if you have a question that you think, oh, I shouldn't ask that, or no one else is going to have the same question, it must just be me, I promise you, you're not alone. So just ask the question. Is there so much more that is so much more common than any of us realize until we start having these conversations. And then we realize that entrepreneurs all over the world are dealing with the same general challenges that once we get a grasp on, it makes life so much easier. So just ask the question.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Awesome. And I love what you said about, how you were, how your skills in your business are so far above, and it's okay to have, train somebody that is a little not as good as you are, but they are still above the competition. And so you could kind of disconnect just a little bit, but your business is still awesome. And so a lot of people, I know a lot of personal friends, it's like, nobody's going to do this anywhere near as good as me. And so I can't allow that to happen. But then you are limiting the amount of money and how big your business could go because you can only do so much yourself. So,
yeah. And then you have to understand too, what happens when you're exhausted? Are you at 100%? Right. So will your business, at some point, the business is going to suffer anyway. Right. If you're sick constantly because you're not sleeping enough and your immune system can't keep up and you're stressed out and all of these other things, which I unfortunately have found out through experience, your business can't grow anyway. Even though you're the best at what you do, you're not at your best. And so you still can't perform that way. So, it's imperative, no matter how you do it, to make sure that you've got the right people, of course, but you can't do it all yourself. There's just no way to achieve the things you want to achieve and really grow the business. You can.
Right. Awesome. We have Mr. Gary. So he was able to meet with us in between his appointments. Yay. Miss Meredith, I am going to let you go because I don't know how much time we have with Gary. Thank you so much. And like she said, please just ask the questions. Don't be afraid. Ask the questions. And I'm sure we could get you some answers and connect with her, download that PDF. And if you have any questions, she'll check in with that later on. So thank you so much, my friend.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Oops, I hid you. Sorry. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm glad you can meet with us.
Me too.
we're all super busy. Yay.
True.
Are you excited about seeing your interview? And I'm not sure if you're going to be able to stay here for the whole thing, or you could always, they could always ask questions and you could come back in here. So I'm not sure what your schedule's like. But
Okay. Yeah, I can watch as much as I can. So
awesome. Do you want to share anything? So I absolutely love what Gary's doing. And there's so many parents that need the information that he's helping people with. And, this was a unique thing that came to you. You would have never done this business if you didn't have an autistic child. And then so once that happened, it's like, okay, there needs to be help for the parents and for the kids. I absolutely love what you're doing.
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are you ready to watch your interview, or do you want to share anything first?
I'm ready.
You're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to share Gary's interview, and then if you have any questions as we're going along, just put your questions in the chat for him, and he'll be there to answer any questions. Also, if you have any questions for Meredith, put them in the chat, and then you can always reach out to both of them in the group. So let's share, and then Gary, if you want to mute your microphone, and
Okay.
then I'll bring you back up as soon as it's done, okay?
Serve it up.
Yep. Hello, everybody. This is Robin Leslie with onlytheinspired.com doing another amazing interview, and I'm super excited about this one today. So we have Mr. Gary Martinez Jr., and so I'm very excited to hear about his story and how he can help people. So in a couple of minutes, describe who you are and how you help people.
All right, Robin, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being here. What I do right now is I help special need parents out there who are running low on energy and money. And this is my personal story. I have a daughter with special needs who's on the autism spectrum. And, we've gone through all these trials and tribulations from the beginning where it's very difficult until you start finding your way. So, I found my way, and it's still a progression that we live through, but the more you learn, the better you get. And I don't want people to be like in a panic mode like I was in the beginning, because I didn't know anything. And I kind of, I've worked on things where I want to share what we do right now so other people don't have to go through a process like that. So I can be of help to people, and that's what I'm here to do. And that's what makes me excited to wake up out of bed every single morning, is to be fired up to help other people who may be going through what I've gone through years ago, the old me, and to kind of help them right now with where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Well, because it's a heart-wrenching situation. And when you don't know how to help and all of the doctor's appointments and all that kind of stuff, I know it's just a headache. I have a few friends that have autistic kids. Yeah. And a couple of coaches actually on this summit too. So how did you get started in this business of helping other people? What was it, one event or a series of events that happened?
It's because before what I do now, and I'm still doing this also, is I'm a fitness trainer, and I became a fitness trainer in 2012, and then in 2014, let's see if I can do my math, close to when my daughter was being diagnosed, that was the time where I wanted to be independent. So I wanted to get away from the big box gym, and I wanted to work for myself because I wanted to be a parent who got to spend more time with his children. So I wanted to take that leap. They say, take that leap into the entrepreneurial world. So I took the leap, and that's kind of where it all started right there. And then a little later, after that, found out my daughter. And the thing is, with girls that have autism, they get diagnosed for the most part later in life, so they are really struggling for a longer time. And so when that happened, I had just started my entrepreneur piece with Fitness World. So that's actually one of the pieces in what I do right now to help our population. Is I do work with some autism and Asperger's kid kids with exercise. So that's one of my components that I do. And so that kind of started the process right there. You know, I was like so scared because when you're a parent and you don't know what you can, you know, you don't know what to do to help your kid when there's something that you're being told. Like, I was like, what is that word? And then, you know, what are these other words that they're also telling us? I was like in panic mode. So basically I was like rubbing my hands together and I was like, okay, so I am now going to be an athlete for my daughter. So I'm going to be a person who, you know, I played sports when I was younger, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to be an athlete for my daughter's life. So I'm going to learn as much as I can. So for me, that was staying up till the wee hours of the morning, you know, 2 a.m. up to 4 a.m. or even 5 a.m., just doing a lot of self-education and to learn more about these conditions that we had. So that kind of set the fire for me to get started as far as becoming more self-educated, and to also that kind of helped out as we started our early therapy types that we had. So I can kind of learn from each health professional in the field what we were going for and what it did for our brain or our body or whatever purpose it served. So I became a student. So, you know, during these sessions that I was allowed to be in were some therapies you can be in and some you cannot. So the ones that I could be in, I thrived on it, and I sat there and I took notes like a student at school. I asked questions, and then I implemented things that we learned and took them home. So that kind of really started a process right there. And then, like I said, later on, I started to help kids and young adults right now to this moment, at least with the exercise piece, which is one part of what I do to help the special needs population.
Awesome. So you branched out on your own as a personal trainer, or and then pivoted into helping special needs kids?
Yeah, so it started out with the personal training piece, being a fitness trainer, and then now it's the whole picture of, you know, a whole program course that I'm going to be doing to help the parents as well. It's just, you know, this recent year during the pandemic when I and yourself joined this free public group for entrepreneurs to you know, come out of this situation stronger in all areas of your life. So for me, it was like, this is what when I found out, yes, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to create to help others. It was that group that we belong to, and now in the coaching group, that finally lit the light bulb. They're like, you know what? That's what you've been doing this whole time. Now it's time for you to not only do it in a daily basis with your own child, but to share your whole personal journey of what's worked for you. I'll share it out there. So I'm actually just very excited to get started to present what I have to share with others as far as what's worked for us on our journey, and to you know, just be helpful to people, because I know there's something that every person can learn from some type of source. You know, ours is our personal story. It's our experience and learning from a lot of experts, you know, so it's the real world experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just happy to share it with others, because you never know if there's one person out there who needs what you have right now. If you don't take that leap like I did earlier in my life, then you know, I would feel bad about that. I wouldn't go to bed at night feeling good if I didn't pull out all the gifts there with others. So I'm fired up.
Awesome. Well, and it's always our mess is our message, right? So it's the stuff that you personally experienced, and learning how to get through that is when we go, there are so many other people that need to hear this, and, you know, how can I help them in this same way? Because you know personally how tough it is to have an autistic child, and how to help her as much as you possibly can. Yeah. So describe your ultimate vision for your business.
For this you know, this business right now, what I'm working on right now with with our kids and our parents, is to just you know, I have it created. And my vision right now is to continue to evolve with it, continue to add more pieces to it so that it can be of more help and more value to helping others. So things that I want to add, and I just have to um, go into that work mode, the program, and all the other things that I'm excited to.
Okay, so we had a little glitch there. So describe your ultimate vision for your business.
My vision is just, I'm just starting out right now, is I want to continue to add a lot of value to the program. I want to add different components because every single kid, with special needs, whether they have autism or not, we're all on a different journey, and we all have something different that we need help with. So I want to continue to work with other health professionals in our population and be able just to provide more for the people out there. That's my vision. That's what makes me hungry. That's what makes me excited. That's what makes me just want to take care of myself on a daily basis to do as much as I can while I'm here, because this little chunk of life goes very, very fast. So I want to leave a lot of I want to leave a lot behind, and I want to help a lot of people along the way in my life. So that's my ultimate vision, is to just continue to learn more and to offer more and to serve more people.
And that's amazing. And I don't think there's enough help in that space. I don't think there is, besides doctor's appointments. I don't think there's much outside help on how to deal with it, how to help your child. I could be totally wrong. But so what beliefs do you have that set you apart from your competition? And I really don't see that you have any competition in this area. But what do you think?
Well, for me, it's being in competition for my daughter. What do we like now? Like, the thing that sets me apart is I want to know like as much of my daughter's strengths that she has. Like for us, it's a lot of special interests. Like, Monica right now, who's 14, by the way, she is obsessed. She is obsessed with like certain Disney movies. And like one of them is, Frozen 2 with, of course, Anna and Elsa. And I try to look at it through her eyes. And a lot of Disney movies do this to our kids, and it kind of like grabs them. And it's kind of like what we call a sensory anchor, which means it's something that they hold on to on a daily basis, and they can repeat it like throughout their day. And what it does, it kind of helps them like self-regulate or calm down. It kind of makes their world and their day not as scary of a place to live in, because they go back to like a certain special interest that they like, something they like to do, whether it's, watching a movie, or maybe it's doing some type of activity that you like. Like another thing for us is my daughter, like 7+ years ago when she was diagnosed, to this day right now, she loves to swing. And there's so many reasons why our kids like to swing. It's been said that like, if you can do some type of activity like that for 15 minutes, it can give our kids like 6 to 8 hours of more of a fluid, productive day, and not as scary moments throughout their day also. So for us, what I learned through all these years is that you have to let your kid fluidly want to do these types of activities, and you have to respect it, because you don't want to go against the grain, or that's going to make things it's going to make things more complicated and frustrating in their world. You want to know what their strengths are, and that, look at it like a workout. When you work out, if you do a warm up first, your mind and your body is more prepared for that workout, and you're going to have more success. You're going to have a more successful workout. So the same thing goes for us, but it's a little different, and it's actually a little more fun. So for us, an example is we have to watch a certain movie part or video, or we're talking about certain scenes that kind of like really get her attention. And it's kind of like music, where like music makes your brain work faster. So, there's more activity going on there. So you got more body awareness. So for us, when we do certain things like replay a scene, or we go swinging and do something like that, and we call those part of our sensory diet. It's something we have to do every day in our routine to help our day go better with all the real life skills that we do. Then we have a more of a successful day. So what sets me apart is that one thing I do and what I teach is what I'm going to be teaching is that the parent, the caregiver, whoever you are, we have to really take care of ourselves because we have to match the energy. Because a lot of times, like you said, we have a lot of appointments to go to. We're like zigzagging, and then we have to, be with our kids and meet their needs and all that kind of stuff. Well, we got to have the energy to do that. In order to have the energy to do that, you have to have it mentally and physically. So like I have a routine I do for myself every single morning. And that, that has to do with a lot of, like exercise or stuff for your mind and your body. And that's kind of one thing that prepares me before Monica wakes up to be ready for her. So I have to be ready for her before she wakes up. So for me, what separates me is just I really take care of myself, on that set right there, on that situation. And then it makes her day better because if I'm happy after getting myself ready, then another big piece, this is a big piece. Another big piece is called co-regulation. So a lot of our kids, like my daughter Monica, she likes people to talk to her in a lower tone. If your tone is high, it can scare her. It can present fear. She don't like that. It's not gonna set well with her in her day. So I match her tone. And I learned this is just one of many things that I know for us that works. So the big takeaway is just you got to know what your kids' strengths are, and when you know a lot of things that they start to like, then do it with them. Like don't sit on the sidelines, be in the field of play, be in the arena with them, and help them out because when you're hand in hand with them, then they are not alone in the world. And that's the last thing I want to do is make my daughter feel alone. We actually have a lot of friends wherever we go. We used to be nonverbal. So now that we talk and everything through a lot of things that have helped us, she's like a social butterfly. And she's overcome a lot of obstacles, and, we still have a lot of speed bumps in life, but we've overcome a lot. And it's just being together with your kid. And it's just having great health and being open, being understanding and respecting them. You got to earn their trust. And those are some of the things that I say separate me. But I want everyone to, I want others to know that those are some things that if you implement, it's going to be so helpful. You're going to get further with your kid. And if it helps them, it helps you, and it helps the whole circle around you.
That's beautiful, Gary. That's awesome. Just, knowing what their strengths are and then knowing, just a simple fact, somebody's tone will put her in fear. And so knowing that kind of stuff and being aware of it. And, I could see, like with my kids, and my kids weren't special needs, they'd want to watch the same movies over and over. And sometimes you get annoyed as a parent, but it's a whole different situation. And if you could like connect with them, like you're saying, in what makes them happy, that is beautiful. Instead of getting annoyed, okay, we've seen this movie 100 times. Can we watch a different movie? Instead of getting annoyed, actually taking the space and looking from their eyes. I love what you're doing. I think that's awesome. And I think that would help a lot of people. And
yes, very much. And you know what, just to like kind of make people understand that just real quickly a little bit more is look at yourself, like look at myself, for example. Like if someone said, hey, Gary, you're no longer allowed to listen to your 80s music. You're no longer allowed to like this and this, what you've always liked. That's going to hurt me. That's a part of my life. And it's just like music, for example. Like, why do people, listen to favorite songs over and over again? Part of the answer is because we know the song, we know how it starts, we know how it ends, and we know how it makes us feel. So that would be like a good example, to share to people who don't understand our world yet, but it's just just another common, understanding to let people know as an example of how our special interests mean the same thing, but it's kind of like at a higher level. It's kind of like times 5 or times 10 because our kids are they're so extraordinary. They're so beautiful and so creative that if you're on their level, oh my God, your bond and everything, your relationship with them it's amazing when you understand it. So just wanted to drop those couple of pennies right there.
that's awesome. Well, and kind of like what you said, when you do stuff like that, then your child's not alone, because if they think completely different than everybody else, then they would feel very isolated. So if you could join them in those little pleasures, and we don't know exactly why those pleasures, why it happens, like certain songs for me, I have feelings, it'll bring me right back to when I was in high school, some of the best times or whatever. But yeah, that's the little mind in that little moment. And if they get pleasure with that, if you could join them, I think that's beautiful. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
awesome. So what was the hardest thing to overcome when starting your business?
For me, was was fear. I didn't know if it was gonna. What if I don't make it? You know, I didn't know anything about sales. It was like a new sport, like something you didn't know. I didn't know anything about it. So that scared me. Like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. I don't know how to ask people if they want to work with me, and all those sorts of, just a lot of the little things that you don't think about when you see like a business that runs and that's successful. When it came time for myself to do it, I was kind of like at a loss. So I was, for me, it was just the fear of not knowing what to do in the beginning. And now I look at myself as not what if I don't, but, a training I went through today, what I heard was, what if you soar? What if you achieve your goals? So now it's more the flip side. And that's where I'm at right now. So the old me was the other what if, and the new me is the positive. I know what it's bigger than me. The picture is bigger than myself. So it's totally different. It's really positive right now.
Awesome. Yeah. And what if, a lot of us, I have this weird light thing on my face. A lot of us is that, what if I fail? But yeah, the flip side is, what if I succeed? And how many more people can that help? And so I think that's exactly where you are, because how many, what was it? I was talking to Claudia, because Claudia Taboada, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm so bad with names. Her son is highly autistic, and what is it? 1 out of every 60 something kids has autism. Or is
the numbers change, but that's pretty close. Yeah, it continues to change.
Yeah, and that's a huge number of people. And then you have the parents and all of the family members that are all connected to that child. And so when you succeed, you're going to impact all of those people. But I totally get the fear and jumping into something you don't see the behind the scenes with all of the other businesses. But when you're in it, it's like, okay, now I'm behind the scenes. What do I need to know to get this going? And sometimes it's a lot. So do you have the support network of friends and family encouraging you to do this and helping all of these other families, or is this something you feel compelled to do?
I have two sides. I have those who support and those who are like, that's not real. They just don't understand. And I'm okay with that. It's, no matter what, this is a big thing. So I'm doing it with or without people who do or don't support, because the bigger cause is to helping people out there who really need help. And a lot of times it's just a little lack of understanding things. But sometimes people like that, they can actually get on board. So, I'm doing this no matter what. And I'm just happy for the people who do support me, because that kind of, that gives you, it fuels you inside a little bit more. And, it's good to see that when that happens. But, I just think of every day, when I'm with my daughter, Monica, and I think of other people who just, who need some things that we have to share with them. So I'm just high level with my energy right now. And no matter what, I'm in it to win it. So that's where I'm at.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yay. So what is your favorite thing about your business?
That I get to live it. It's what I do on a daily basis. So it's like I said earlier, it's what I wake up and jump out of bed and pretty much like a cat trying to hang on to the ceiling That's me every single morning. I'm up there. I'm just ready to, to do what I want to do. And now, like you said, behind the scenes, at first was scary years ago, but behind the scenes now is like, oh yes, like there's so many things I want to do now. So I love behind the scenes. It's just a different, energy and moment right now. So I'm just really excited. And I'm here to stay.
Awesome. And you're going to help so many people. So what inspires you? What are you passionate about? And it doesn't have to be business.
Passionate about that doesn't have to be business is I like being a dad. And I make that real clear out there, when I'm on my platforms and everything. I like being a parent. I like spending time with my kids. I just live every single day when I'm with them. Like it's my last day, in the sense that I want to do as much as I can with them and share moments with them. And we're not really on screen time a lot or anything like that. We're more of a face-to-face, and we do things together. And I like to let the kids pick out things that they like to do. So it's not only, so it's not a one-sided thing. It's a family affair, and we take turns, and we learn from each other, and we grow from each other, and we get stronger, and our love that we have for each other is more stronger as well. So it's just being the example, like with my actions. So that's the fun part for me, is to see my kids and spend time with them and watch them grow, and just seeing how they are. That's my favorite part, is just spending time with family.
That's beautiful. I wish more parents were like that. I was one that was busy a lot, single mom, busy a lot. And so I didn't have a lot of that quality time like you're saying. And I think that's beautiful. And you're teaching them amazing lessons for when they become parents. So you have, how many kids do you have?
Yeah, and I have 2 kids. So Monica, that we're highlighting right now, Monica's 14. And, each kid has a different mother. So my son, Christian, he's 10 years old, and he lives about an hour and a half away from me. So, for him, when I get him, he's kind of like, Dad, you drive all the way this way to see me? I was like, heck yeah, man. It's like, I don't care about how the highway is. I don't care if it's traffic galore. I don't care about construction. I don't care about if I have to zigzag around town and get on the highway, because I'm going to go see you. And that makes me happy. That makes me excited. So when I get to see the kids on their days that I get them, because I have to share, the parenting time, that's what I look forward to. Like, I'm actually like sad on the days that I don't have the kids. Like, I have to find something to do. I get all busy. I have to stay busy because, it's an empty feeling. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't have them with me. So sometimes I'll see a penny on the ground, and I'm like, oh, that's Christian, because he's always looking for pennies at the stores. Or I'll see, or hear like a Disney song from Frozen or something. Like, oh, that's Monica. Had that little that little spiritual thing. Like, they're probably thinking of me, and then when they see something to me, it's probably like that too. So that's pretty much that's how I am behind the scenes, and just doing this life like that.
That is beautiful, Gary. And I'm sure that makes your son feel amazing. And, he questions that you would drive all this way for me. It's like, heck yeah, I would. Yeah, that's awesome. And, that validates him and it makes him feel important. I think that's amazing. Yay. So who inspires you?
Who inspires me? I was I'm gonna say, the kids again. They're the ones who inspire me. I mean, I have mentors for other things, of course, that inspire me. Like we share Pete Vargas, who inspires me to do this course that I'm doing to help others. Another big person is Ray Higdon. I'm in his group also, and he also inspires me. So I have different mentors, and those are 2 of my favorite right now that inspire me a lot to be more successful at what I want to do for my life, to have that freedom to do the things I want to do. And then again, like I said, my kids inspire me because I learn from them. When we're together, we learn from each other. We're playing, but we're also learning. So, a big piece that I want people to like not forget, because, back in, years ago, because I'm not as young as maybe people might think, but I still have black hair. but playing is learning, and playing is developing, and playing does a lot. So don't take that for granted, because you can learn a lot from that. That can be like a very successful tool that you can do with your kids. When you're playing with them, you're spending time, you're learning, and then they're more open to talk about different things in life that could be like, tough to talk about subjects. So that's one thing that I use with our playing.
And as we become adults, we play less and less. And so I'm sure that makes you feel younger when you can actually play with your kids and connect with them on that level. And it's a huge connection for them to have their dad do that, because not all parents do that.
Yeah, and it makes you not forget some important things when we're younger, is that it's still okay to dream. It's still okay to have those big dreams. And you're never too old to not do something that you want to do, if you want to do it. Because when you're kids, all the way up until age 18, there's that free space in the middle of your brain that allows you to dream, that allows you to have all those things in life that you want to do. But then when we get 18, those two parts of the brain, it closes up. So we no longer really have those type of things that go through our brain as far as when we're adults to think that way again. So, when you're around your kids, that gives you like a reminder of stuff. And then you can, transition stuff into your work or whatever it is you do in your life. And you can, not forget to operate with things like that. So it kind of goes hand in hand. How to, be in this part, and then how to bring it into this part, and just make everything full circle, like your personal life and your work life, and make them both be successful. You got to be good at both, because if you suffer at one, then you're not going to be good, in a full circle. It's kind of like, if I sat on a seesaw and it's just me with nobody there, then there's no balance. There's nobody on the other end. So you got to make sure you're taking care of business on both ends of your lifestyle.
That's a great metaphor. I like that.
Just made that up.
So one more question, last question. If you could leave one tip or golden nugget for the people listening, and it was the only thing you could say and your only chance to say it, what would that be?
I want to say patience with understanding. And if you use that in everything that you're doing, you're going to get a lot further, because you're being open to learning, and you're being open to learning about whether you're talking to a person, that we're all different. And if you can do that one thing right there, you're going to get a lot further. You're going to be a lot more successful. You're going to be a lot more happier with things. So that's something that I've learned during this process, and it's really got me. It's really made me blossom as a person. It's totally changed who I am. So I feel really grateful for that. It's something that I had to learn, though. It wasn't easy.
I would think patience with understanding is the only way that you could be with somebody who's autistic or special needs, because you can't get frustrated and force something, because it might not be able to happen. So you have to be patient. You have to take a step back and then try and understand where they're coming from. Otherwise, you're going to be frustrated, and they might close down. They might shut down if you're trying to force something to happen, or you get annoyed or irritated. Yeah. And like I said to Claudia, and my friend Jennifer, who has an autistic son, I believe the people who are given autistic children are so much stronger than the rest of us, because I don't know if I can handle that, and I think they're given to the strong people.
Yeah. And, it also kind of molds you. Like, now that I'm where I'm at, and know what I know, and we do what we do, and we're better off right now, is that I found out for myself that there was a lot of things that I learned in life, like whether I learned it through work, or I learned it in school, or I learned it in a trade school or something like that. It all kind of like molded who I am as far as helping my daughter, like all these different types of skills and trades. I analyze myself that a lot of it comes into play at different moments in my life. It's just, you just have to never forget stuff that you learn in life, and just, there's different times when it needs to be used and applied. So it does make you, definitely a stronger person, because someone's depending on you and they need some extra help, and it's totally okay to be different. And I think when people like to say that, you know, uh, don't be don't be different, things like that. It's you don't want the world to know that. And I'm kind of like the opposite, where it's like, no, it's okay to be different, because if you're worried about what other people think, then you're going to be playing too small in life, and you're going to be missing the boat on a lot of opportunities. You can use that as a teaching tool. Like for us, there's been moments in our life where it's not always smiles like you see on social media. There's been a lot of hard moments in our life, and we still have them, where people don't know why we're doing that, why we behave like this, why we do that. And those are moments that are teaching moments for me, because there's moments where your kid may have a meltdown and they may get out of control. And that's actually called a sensory meltdown, because there's a chemical brain imbalance that they can't control what's going on, and neither can you. So there's certain things that you got to do. So we've had moments like that, and we've had moments where people would make fun of how she talks and stuff like that. And all I did was talk to these people on their level, to make them understand. Like one time, quick story is, there was a group of little kids. They could have been bullies, but we turned that around, where they're like, I can hear them like, oh, she talks like this and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay, what can I do to turn that around and make them our friends? So I followed them and I took Monica with me. And I was like, hey, excuse me. I kind of heard what you were saying. And, that's okay. I just want to tell you something. I was like, so you like, they're wearing like a sports shirt. I forgot what sport it was. But I was like, so if you're at a game and that's your favorite team, right? And they're like, yeah, yeah. Because I'm talking about something they like.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, yeah. So all ears were like this. I was like, so when you're at the game, and your team's doing real good, and everybody's screaming and yelling, do you do that? Like, do you get all happy and all that, excited? Like, yeah, yeah. And then they're describing their team and what they like, and they're, yep, I scream and blah, blah, blah. And I can't, I lose my voice the next morning. I was like, okay, cool, got it. I was like, so my daughter's voice, the reason why it's like that, it's not her fault. It's because, when she was littler, she couldn't talk. And, she used to attack herself because she couldn't express herself. She would beat herself up. She would scream and yell because she couldn't talk. So we may not get our voice back. We may not be able to talk like the age that we are, until it may be later on in life. So think about that sporting game where you lose your voice, and it wasn't your fault, but that's what happened to her, and it wasn't her fault. So when I talk to them like that, with the low tone, and to kind of use a situation with something they like and explain in our world, then we brought both those worlds together, and then they were friends. We became friends, and then they're like, they start asking me questions like, hey, why does she swing a lot? Because a lot of kids will walk to school and they wouldn't be happy before school started. And then kids like them, they used to come to us, and then they started to swing. And I told them, this is the reason why we swing. It makes us happy. It organizes our body. It helps us throughout our day. So when you see Monica having a hard moment at school or something, just encourage her to make sure she goes and swing for recess. So those kids became our friends. And before you know it, I wasn't pushing just Monica 20 minutes before school started. I was pushing like 6 to 8 kids at the same time. So that's just one story, one chapter of our life where, that's sometimes we go through situations like that. And I don't shy away. I don't have horse blinders on. I see that as my moment to shine and to help and to educate. And then it just makes the world a better place when that happens.
That's awesome. And you create a connection that maybe never would have been, and a heartfelt understanding of somebody else, and to those kids. I think that's awesome that you do that, and that you've created a little swinging group. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, very cool. So is there anything else that you would like to share before you talk about your giveaway?
Let's see, I covered a lot of things there. Going a little bit into our program a little bit, I talked about the physical part, and one thing for us, like, I still, like I said, I work with some kids with autism and Asperger's with, personal training. And it's a little different for us, just like with Monica. So like, for example, like when I work with one of the kids at the gym, you know, like I said, normally, you know, we do a warm up, like, okay, I got to do this for my, you know, so-and-so. But before we do that, what I do with one of my clients is we walk around the gym 3 times. That's part of our warm up, because what I'm doing is I'm listening to my client and he's telling me all the important things in his life. Like, you know, I watched this show and so I get to learn what's important to him. So when I'm listening and we're walking, so one quick thing, when you're moving, when your brain's working and your body's moving at the same time, that's actually how we're supposed to operate in life. So while we're doing our 3 laps and I'm learning about, you know, Blue's Clues or Minecraft or things like that, because I love this client of mine. He's amazing. That, you know, that makes me feel good. And, you know, it makes him feel good because I'm giving him attention to something that's important to him. So he comes first. Then we do the workout. Then, you know, then we do the warm up, and then we do the workout. So we have a great time. So, you know, that's like one of the components in the program that I created. And, you know, one of the other ones is like, okay, so we're working out and I'm going to be teaching stuff to parents also, like I said, because parents, we have to have energy too. But I also want to show them also is that you got to recover from your workouts because you're going to get sore. So I show people how to recover from their workouts. And then I show the parents, because like we said earlier, a lot of us have crazy schedules. So a lot of us parents, maybe only one works while the other one stays at home because of our unique schedule. And that's nobody's fault. So sometimes we're not making the money that we need. And sometimes that's a struggle. Sometimes we have to wait on the system before we can get something that we may need now, but we might have to wait like a year or 2 or 3 before we can get what we need. So that's why I want to teach people how you can do things from home. If you have like something you want to start as a business at home, I'm teaching our parents some simple little tricks on a proven system so they can do something like that, or that's something that they choose. So I think we glitched a little bit.
Oh, well, yeah. That's okay.
Were you able to catch that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, I show those things also. And then at the end of it, I want parents to know how to relax because it's a long day. So I also have like a relaxing piece to teach us how to relax. Because I think for a lot of us, that's the hardest thing to do. And you know, some people have a hard time in yoga not doing those complex poses, but laying down on your back and just closing your eyes to relax. So going through that in my life and knowing and hearing other people that go through that in our community, those are things that I'm going to be teaching and helping other people with so you know, things go better for them in their day. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So you're helping parents that are low on money how to do things at home so you're not waiting on the system for years. Right?
Right. If there's something that they ever wanted to do, if they ever wanted to start something out on their own, a business or something like that, I'm giving them some basic tools to help them out with that. To go like on Facebook or whatever, and giving them a lot of helpful tips that have helped me, and it's helped a lot of people also. It's a proven system that works. Yes.
Great. Awesome. So you are going to give away a Kindle version of your book, right?
Right. Got it.
And that is called Living Life Through Their Eyes, Our Journey Together on the Autism Spectrum. And you wrote that a few years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, it's about 3 years ago.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, in a nutshell, the book, I thought that I should write a book. I felt it was my duty to do that because, like I said earlier in our talk, that, you know, when I found out the diagnosis for my daughter, I was scared. I was in panic mode. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what this was. I freaked out, and I wanted to make a book and kind of share a lot of information, a lot of general information about autism, and a lot of talk about some of the therapies, common ones that we all go through. And I have a lot of contributors in the book that are experts in the field with some things that can actually help our kids. But again, our kids are all different. But there's a lot of value in the book. And also we share our stories. So I made it kind of an easy to follow deal. You know, there's education in there, and then sharing our story. just so he can get to know a beautiful girl named Monica who has autism. And there's nothing better than rooting for an underdog, but also learning how hard things can be for them, but also how helpful things can be for them when we have tools that can actually make a difference in their life. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what the book is about.
And I think that's going to help so many people because, yeah, they're just not knowing where to go, which direction to turn. And I love that you give them stories and other things that can help them and their child, not just their child, but how to cope with their own body and their own patience and their own self-care. That's awesome. So to get that, you're going to just email Gary at GaryMartinez650@gmail.com. So that's GaryMartinez 650@gmail.com. And I will put that in the Coach Summit under the giveaways tab, and so you can reach out to Gary there also. But yeah, so he's given the Kindle book. That's awesome. I love what you're doing. And I think it's super helpful. And that's not something that I personally have ever had to deal with, but I know personal friends that do on an ongoing basis. So yay. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. So for everybody listening, please share this interview. There's so many people out there that need it. There's one in every 60 to 90 kids, and I don't know the exact statistic, but it's a lot of kids out there that have some sort of special needs, autism, Asperger's, any of that. And there's a lot of parents who don't know what direction, and it would be wonderful to learn from a parent that's really dive deep into what it means, how he can help his daughter, and not only how he can help his daughter, but how he can help himself and connect with his daughter. I love the title, Living Life Through Their Eyes. I think that's beautiful. Yay. So make sure you share, and thank you very much for being here, and we will talk to you guys later.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Awesome. So what do you think about that?
Thought it came out pretty good.
Tracy Nolan Bierman, she says, Gary Martinez Jr., love this. There are lots of people who need what you have. What a blessing you are. And then love that you're teaching parents how to take care of themselves, match their energy, and love this, Gary. Love your heart. Absolutely. And like I said in the video, just not everybody takes the time to actually see life through your child's eyes, and so I love that you're doing that and teaching them patience and teaching them how to actually connect with the children at their level. So right. Awesome.
It's just called showing love.
Yeah. And, sometimes we get so busy as parents that we don't have the patience. And I think people with special needs children, you need 3 times or more patience than the normal parent. And, because there's a whole different level of understanding that, you as a parent don't quite understand. So you have to kind of understand where they're coming from and then have patience to how that they, how they connect with people, how loud noises might affect your daughter, how different, all those different nuances that are normal for us are not normal for them. So, yeah.
Right. And and then it goes back to just the parent, the caregiver, whoever, to showing that love and that self-care for yourself, of how much value that is for you. And when you do that, you know what? Because you have that heart and you have a big heart for your kid, when you see them struggling in like a situation, like you just said, like maybe they're at the mall and there's loud noise, you're like, oh my God, whoa, we've got to figure out what to do to help. And once you're at, the level of, I took care of myself in the morning before I start the day. And then you're with your child, and there's a speed bump, like loud noise or something. then you're going to want to fight for them. You're going to want to find out, okay, what do I need to do for that? And like one tip for us is like, we went through that before when we were younger. The mall was chaos. And then we found out there's a lot of things that can help. And one of them for us was putting on headphones to kind of block out some noise.
Oh, yeah. Something simple. And you can even put on music from their favorite movie, and that'll put them in an even more peaceful place.
And, I wear headphones too. Like I said, there's no shame in my game. But you just brought up a good point that I think it's time for me, and I've mentioned it before. We got to go shopping now. Monica loves to go shopping. So I want to find like an Elsa or Frozen shirt so I can wear it with her on the same day. So yeah, it's just little things like that. Like you said, it'll bring a smile to their face. Those show support in another way. So.
Right. Or you can wear a Kristoff shirt or a pull-off shirt. And I'm sure they have them.
I actually joke with Monica because when we go to the store, I know we're going to go see, the toys. But there's ways when you go to the store how you can actually help your kid get some activity there. And what I used to do for Monica when it was troubling for her at the store was we would get a basket, and I would put in like a case of water or something, and she wants to go here. There's toys, but we're going the other way. So we would do a couple of rounds of activity to get her feeling more comfortable in the store, and then we would go check out the toys. And that's like another little trick that you can do at the store. Once you start to learn things that help, you can improvise and you can pivot anywhere. And by the way, as we're talking about like Kristoff and stuff, I actually tease Monica and I tell her, I want Knock. Knock is the horse in Frozen 2. So I'm like, I want Knock. I want that horse. Someone has to buy me Knock. So I'll start another conversation right there, and we just kind of joke around with that.
Awesome. I didn't remember. I think I've only seen the second one once, maybe twice. I've seen the first one several times. I just love it. Love it. I love the patience, and and it's also a good trick. Instead of going straight to the toys, because she's not going to want to leave the toys and go to the boring stuff, have the toys be like the end of the rainbow. We have to go through all this stuff first, and then we get to go to the toys. And sometimes you have to do that with kids. Yeah.
There you go.
And I think what you're doing, teaching people how to be patient, teaching them how to take care of themselves. And I also love that, when the boys were kind of making fun of her at the swing set, that you actually got on their level and got them to understand, and then you made a whole bunch of new friends. But it's good. You're sticking up for it, but then at the same time you're getting them to think things differently and get a different perspective from somebody that's handicapped or special needs.
Yeah, and if those kids, if they take to that information, they can also now start to duplicate that information and pass it on to friends that maybe, see something, with another kid and they don't understand. So maybe they say the wrong thing, and those kids now who are educated can duplicate the system and share, here's why and here's what you can do. And then that's just another
awesome.
way.
Yay. So I hope that everybody will go and get a copy of that ebook. And again, I will put the link in the announcements tabs under the giveaways, so you could get that from Gary, and I'll have his email in there. And I want you to consider, so we had two very different coaches today, right? One is small business owners, trying to help small business owners get more profitable, take some stress off of the business owner, and actually scale without you having to play every role. And then we also have an amazing coach here, not only physical fitness, and we didn't really talk very much about it, but I was looking at his rap sheet, not really his rap sheet, but all of the modalities that he has learned in the physical fitness and training just by itself. And then, so that's one of his aspects. And then, helping parents and helping children of, special needs, how valuable would that be? obviously that is why he's doing this, because he didn't have that help when he was trying to figure stuff out. It's like, I believe people should know this, and this can help a lot of people. I want you to understand the value of these two coaches, just, on totally different scales, but wow, how valuable can both of them be? And so we have lots more interviews coming up. Let me tell you about some of the interviews. So tomorrow is our marathon day. Woo! So we have 5 coaches tomorrow. So we have Brendan Kumarasamy, which he is a YouTube guru, and he talks about public speaking, and his whole business is completely on YouTube. And so that's going to be a very awesome interview. And then we have the beautiful Ashley Mudzai, and she is an intuitive, and so she helps women see things that they don't see and break through those blocks that they have and actually explode their business. And she's a manifestation coach. And then we have the beautiful Lee Smith. And so she is a speaker and a life coach. And she talks about how she went from a very dark place of being almost divorced and in a almost suicidal situation to now where she's overcame all that. Her marriage is amazing, and she's helping other people. So please make sure you tune into that. Then we have the incredible Tiffany Hockelman. And so she is a branding expert, and she helps business owners systematize their business. And so once you create that system, then it's easy to bring people through, because all the training's in place, which is so incredibly valuable. And then we have the Nozomi Morgan. And so she actually works with businesses on cultural differences, because she came from Japan. And so she has a different culture than what is here in America, and she realized there was lots of differences. And so she helps businesses understand, embrace, and really connect with those people with different cultural backgrounds. So 5 very powerful interviews tomorrow. Yay. So yeah. So Gary, thank you so much. Do you want to share anything else before I let you go?
I think we covered pretty much everything. I would just say, like, I don't think I spoke as much as far as the at-home business tools that I teach people. But the cool thing about that is that when you do like a business at home, at least as far as what I'm teaching people, is you need 0 experience. You don't need a degree or nothing. And that makes it
doable. Do you want to get into that a little bit more?
No, I think that's basically that what I teach, it's already a proven system. It's simple steps. It's duplicatable, like we were just talking about, as far as kids showing other kids the thing and passing on information. I think it's really going to be really helpful for our parents and caregivers, whoever, because, right now, the world has changed. And this is something you can just do at home. You can be there with your kids, and you can spend more time. And I used to work 14 to 16 hours a day at one time, and I was running on fumes. I did not love that schedule, but it's something that I had to do. But when you can work from home and pick your time and pick your schedule and do it on your dime and have the time to do things with your kids, and that even can improve like your relationship, where you can spend time with your partner too, and you have you build that family brand. I think that's just very helpful to anybody.
Family brand.
And,
I like that.
And that's something I learned in that challenge for us, a family brand. And I was like, quickly, a family brand is just having a system as far as things you do together on a weekly basis with your families. What I learned from I know his name was Nicholas, and his last name I think is Elias, but learned that in the challenge. And I was like, that's something that I've already kind of been doing myself. It was just a little differently, but I think having your own family brand is very helpful for every family.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I like that a lot.
Well, thanks to Nicholas.
Yeah.
He made me remember that, and to make sure that it's very important. That's something I wanted to point out also.
Awesome. You are a incredible dad, no doubt about it. I've seen pictures of you and your daughter on Facebook, and I really hope that more parents can learn from you and actually connect so much more, because it's necessary. It's necessary. It's going to help your child. It's going to help. And even if your child is not special needs, we should connect with them on their level. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're like the overseer versus, I'm on the same level with you so I can understand you.
Right. It's just like a door you never knew that was open, and now that you have some knowledge behind it, you can, anyone can benefit from, learning what we have to teach.
Absolutely. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for being here. I know you're a busy boy, and so I'm glad that you were able to make it.
Me too. Me too. Really appreciate you for having me on your platform.
No problem. No problem. So for everybody watching, please share the interviews. Let's try and impact as many people as we can. And in 4 days, we're launching onlytheinspired.com. Yay. So make sure you go check it out at onlytheinspired.com. And right now we're doing a pre-launch membership for $67 a month. So make sure you go and grab that. And so I'm super excited. Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you, Meredith, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And make sure that you show up tomorrow for our marathon day. Woo! And we will see you guys later. Thank you.
Bye for now.